Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Family Reflections. I'm your host, Kenny Emmanuel, and I'm in here today with a very recognizable face, Mr. Ronald Boo Hinkson. Sir, can you tell the people hello and give us a quick introduction?
Hi, everybody. How you doing? How you doing? I'm still recovering from celebrating my birthday on the 17th of September. I don't believe because I see I'm recovering. I've been drinking alcohol. I don't drink alcohol at all, right? I'm a teetotaler. So alcohol consumption is not part of my life at all. But I had a wonderful birthday. My wife took utmost care of me. Did a lot of nice things for me. So I'm fully recovered. So I'm ready for this interview.
All right. How far? You're a September born?
17th, man. I just celebrated my birthday day before yesterday, man.
Yeah,
Friday.
Happy belated. I didn't know that.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah.
Best people in the world. As a matter of fact, today's the Prime Minister's birthday. Or yesterday.
Oh, he's also a September one as well?
Yeah, he's the 18th.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that either. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, I heard it through the grapevine that March borns are the best people in the world, but you didn't hear that from me,
Well, people like to distort things. People have a way of distorting things, so you can't take them to task for that. Just leave that alone. That alone.
All right. But as I said, happy belated, and we're very glad to have you on the show, guys. I actually spoke to Boo on an episode on the Caribbean Cadence platform, and I had such a good time that I really wanted to speak to him here as well. He's a legend in the St. Lucian and Caribbean music industry, and it's really a pleasure to have him on the show today. Can you? I was hoping that you could give us kind of a sense of your journey. Tell us your story. So the viewers and listeners can kind of get up to speed.
Well, my journey is a very interesting one. So here's what. I grew up in Castries. An area called, what they call Baccarat now?
I don't think so, no.
It's like Broccoli Street. You see, you uptown guys know these places.
I'm a guy from down south. That's why I'm from down south.
I grew up in the middle of Castries, and my mother actually played the guitar, and that's where my musical career. That's how it started, man. My mother played guitar, and during the Second World War, my dad. There was a contingent of the British Army in the Caribbean, and my dad was in an army band.
Oh, really?
They called the West Indian Regiment. And my dad was in that band playing the clarinet, and my mother played guitar. So I grew up, I had music on both sides of my family.
Okay.
And I think because of that interaction, my dad brought home Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, a lot of old jazz music, So I grew up as a kid hearing that, And I can't say that I grew up with my dad, but the music was in the house, and I know it was from his interaction with that British regiment, West Indian regiment, that music got to my home. So I grew up hearing that in the house.
Yeah, so a wide musical palette then.
Absolutely. So, and then my mom playing guitar, and because of that same influence, my mom knew a lot of old jazz standards, and a lot of old beautiful songs with beautiful melodies and beautiful lyrics, man. And so then we had a friend, my brother had a friend called Leo Sentros, who had a store called Mamas of Funk on the show set. And this guy went to England and sent my brother a guitar. And wow, boy, that was the best thing that I ever had, man. But it was electric guitar, man. So I started to fiddle around with that. My brother wasn't too pleased about that, that was his guitar. I was a little boy listening to this guitar kind of thing. And then I learned a few songs, and my mother started to show me stuff. And after a while, everybody was convinced, listen, it seems as though Boo has an aptitude for this thing and he can do it.
Okay.
But now I wanted an electric guitar, man. But at the time,
So that first guitar was acoustic?
Acoustic, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
More than electric guitar. None of us grew up poor, man. You know what I'm saying? you know, and many of us come from families, you know, that could have just dished out the money to buy a guitar and an amplifier at the time, you know.
Right.
And I had this friend called Gregory Braffett who lived in, I think Gregory was in England too or somewhere, and he came home for a guitar and an amplifier. What did I think? Badly, man. Badly. The time we called, I hear him, man. And I think I had the first hunger strike in the Caribbean, man. I just protested. I stopped eating, man. I must get that guitar. Find money to buy for me. I put a thing on them. I put a trick on them. I just went on a hunger strike, man. And
it worked.
I mean, if it worked, man, but I stopped eating, man. And they eventually got me that guitar, man. They probably never recovered from that because we were so poor. So I got this guitar and an amplifier, you know. And along the way, my mother taught me a lot of stuff, man, because my mother knew all these old songs. Yeah. And but I was always influenced by calypso and all the early music from Jamaica, the blue beat and the ska. You know what I'm saying? The rock steady, all this stuff. Yeah. And all the Caribbean music was in my blood. And so I got together with a friend of mine called Michael Alexander. And Michael was the son of Sir Daniel Alexander, who was the Chief Justice of Nigeria. But Michael, I knew from we were kind of friends, huh? And because Michael lived in St. Lucia.
Okay.
And we decided to form a little group, you know.
But hold on, let me just get this straight. So Michael, the son of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, was living in St. Lucia.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
How did it happen, boy? I'm not sure, you know, I can't remember. But okay. Michael Alexander and his sister lived in St. Lucia, and Michael and I were very close friends. And Michael was a brilliant guy. He was a bit of a genius, a bright guy. Okay. Michael must have passed for college at about 10 or 9. You know? So Michael got a guitar and we started to play together and sing, you know. And then we got another friend of mine called Gideon Springer. And we just started to fool around and learn some songs, man.
Yeah.
And one day, Carlos Mintz, who was the head of the police band, said to me that they had he had his own band, right? And they were supposed to do a performance at a place called Gaiety. That's where the cinema was in town.
Yeah.
But he was otherwise engaged with the police band, so he couldn't start the gig on time. He said to me, "Boo, you think you guys can come and hold on for us until I finish my gig with the police band?" I said, "No, we can't do that because, I mean, we're not a band. We only know a few songs, man. You know?" He said, "No, come and do it, man. You all can do it, man." I'm a little boy at the time, you know, man. I must have been, maybe 14 or so.
Wow.
I said, "No, Carlos, we can't handle that." He kept insisting. I said, "In addition, we don't even have a name." And he told me, "Just call yourself True Tones. Just call yourself True Tones."
It's funny how such an impactful name just came from
out of the blue, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I eventually agreed, man. So Michael, Stringer, myself, we got a friend of mine to make a conga for us, you know, because we had no money to buy any drums or anything.
Yeah.
So he made a conga and we went to the countryside and we got a goat skin and put it around with some rope, and we had a hammer at the performance. We used to beat the all around the drum to stretch the skin to keep it in tune, you know. Mm-hmm. And we put a bulb underneath it, a light bulb.
Yeah.
So the heat from the bulb will keep the skin stretched so it'll stay in tune, you know.
Right.
And so we had no drummer. We just had one guy beating the conga, and a friend of mine made a bass. We ordered a pickup. Put it on the bass the guy made. He got it in the strips, made the frets, and that was it. And that was our band. And we went and we started to play, man. And boy, we knew about maybe 6 or 8 songs. So, but Carlos hadn't turned up after we had done the 8 songs. So we just changed the order.
You started recycling.
Yeah, so we had the first recycling in St. Lucia, man. Yeah. So we started to recycle the songs, man. And then eventually Carlos and his band turned up. But I'll tell you what I did realize from that is that it told me that I had the capacity to do this. And from the response of the people, I was convinced that this is what I wanted to do, because I was a little boy, you know. And I think people are generally happy to see young people doing things.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I was convinced that I could do this, and this is what I wanted to do, man, you know. So we continued to do this. And at the time, now the Peace Corps were a big thing in St. Lucia. The Peace Corps was out of America. You know, these guys were coming.
Just before we move on to the Peace Corps, I'm kind of wondering what brought his name was Carlos, right? The guy, yeah, the guy playing for the police band.
Yeah, he was the director of music in police band, Carlos Mendes.
Right. Was he around your rehearsals? Was he seeing you guys playing? How did he get the sense?
What happened was that I used to do, people would invite me to perform certain places as a little boy, just by myself with no band, you know. Yeah. I just go and play stuff, you know. And so Carlos knew what I could do, you know.
All right, okay.
On one or two occasions, he had me sitting with the police band, and people were amazed. Look at this little boy playing the guitar in the police band. You know?
All right.
So, but I'll tell you what though. At the time, I'm not sure whether all that attention. I think I was able to deal with it when I was performing, but when I was not, I don't think I liked the attention. You know? Because people would come to my home and say, my mother's name was Iyanola. Iyanola, which is the one playing the guitar? Boo! Go and play a song for the people. I used to hate people coming to my home, you know, because that'd be an ordeal I have to go through all the time. So what I would do is that people come to my home, I just go downstairs. My room was downstairs, and at that time we lived in Rockland. I used to just lock my room and disappear from people, because I just found it was a bit of I was like a little showpiece, and I didn't like that. You know?
Yeah.
I think up to now, I don't mind going on stage, but when I get off stage, I want to leave everything that happens with the music on stage, and you know, don't carry that around with me. You know?
Do you consider yourself introvert or extrovert? How do you?
I can be an introvert. If I get into big crowds and I'm not playing music, I can just stay in a corner that I saw, or one or two people that I know I'm very comfortable with. But if I'm playing music, I got to do it, you know. But other than that, I'm very comfortable with a little group of people that I know. I can go in a big thing and just stay there with these people all night.
Right.
Not going to the rest of the crowd, you know. But so I was telling you about the Peace Corps. This Peace Corps used to have little parties and thing, and Barclays Bank had a place by the VG field there, you know, at the back of Lance Road. And these guys used to have parties there, and we used to go play for them. By that time, we had bought a hi-hat. We didn't have a whole drum set, we just bought a hi-hat, you know. And I think that what is a hell of a thing. That's a hell of a journey, man.
So you had the hi-hat and the
hi-hat and a conga, you know.
Yeah.
And we had maracas, these things, that's all we could afford, man. And these guys used to pay us like $40 for the whole band, man. $40. We play from 9 o'clock in the night till 2 in the morning, $40.
Wow.
I think now I think that I can consider that child abuse, man, you know.
Yeah, that stuff there.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. So we worked at it, and then we began to eventually we managed to buy a sound system, man, and that was a thing called a WIM sound system, and we just had two little speakers on the corner, and I got a vocalist, you know. And we began to grow, and then I added horns.
Right.
And but I'll tell you what, I had an upbringing here that I don't know if any other young person ever had, because I might come from this family that didn't have very much, but I was still going to school and I had a band.
Yeah.
So by that time, at the college, it was run by the Presentation Brothers. And you have to know that in that era, it was not all right for young people to be going to play music for money. That was something I was looked down upon.
Really?
Yeah. And your college,
why was it looked down on?
Because that's the era. That is the perception of the time. You're a college boy, you're going to play music for money. You crazy? So he used to tell my mother, might say to my mom, I don't know, how you letting the boy go play music for money or whatever. But what I didn't realize, my mother saw my potential. And my mother was the one teaching me to play. So she played guitar, you know? And so with all of this encouragement, things began to grow. And lo and behold, I started to write a lot of songs, man. I started to record pretty early. So we got booked to go to St. Vincent to perform in Barbados. And I was still going to school. Here's the story now. So sometimes it would be a Monday. Monday would be a holiday in St. Vincent. And it was not a holiday here. And I had to perform in St. Vincent for the weekend. So I had to get permission from the presentation brothers to leave to go to play in St. Vincent. Because I'm still at school. So sometimes they'll say okay, sometimes they say no.
Right.
Anyway, what would happen is that I would fly to St. Vincent on a Friday afternoon with my homework. Over St. Vincent, right? And so we perform in St. Vincent Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And Monday is a holiday in St. Vincent. It's not a holiday here. So these guys would charter a plane to fly me back to school Monday morning and fly me back to St. Vincent Monday afternoon.
And at this time, you're about 15, 16, thereabout?
Yeah, at the college, yeah. And I never realized what was happening with my life because I was only interested in the music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't realize what was happening. I didn't realize how popular I was or anything. That never occurred to me.
Yeah.
And in fact, we got really, really popular in St. Croix in that area. So these guys used to bring us to St. Croix to perform all the time. And they would charter a plane to fly me and the band to St. Croix. All the way to St. Croix. And Muna, I don't know if you know Muna. Muna is a good friend of mine that I've known for years. And Muna became, Muna used to work at the hangar at VG Airport. And a mutual friend taught him to fly. And Muna went on to have a great career as a pilot, flying 747s and so on.
Wow.
So Muna used to fly us to St. Croix in these places to perform and to Martinique and so on, because these guys had chartered. And we'd land in St. Croix, and there'd be a whole lot of people at the airport and police and so on. And it never even occurred to me that all that commotion at the airport was because I was coming to perform.
But that's good, right? Because I guess even then, not being aware of that pressure, right? It just kind of kept you focused on the music then?
Well, not only that, it kept me humble.
Yeah, okay.
It kept me humble, you know what I'm saying? So these people used to come to the airport, man, in droves. And at that time, there's a lot of St. Lucians in St. Croix. A lot of St. Lucians went to St. Croix to work in the oil, you know, with Hess.
Yeah.
And so these people used to turn out in droves, man. At the airport, we have a lot of people and police at the airport to control the traffic and everything. And then, because Boo and the Dragoons arrived in St. Croix. And man, listen, that thing never until years after occurred to me what I was doing and what I had become.
Yeah.
You know? But then it also told me I was negotiating badly. Because I was young, I didn't know the business at the time.
Yeah, you weren't aware.
It should have occurred to me that if a guy can get a charter from St. Lucia to St. Croix and the plane waited there for me for a whole weekend, then somebody's making a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway, that was part of my whole journey, man. And then
I want to just before you continue, I want to just roll back a little bit because you mentioned that you started writing songs, right? I'm wondering what made you take that forward jump to starting to create your own original music.
Well, I thought, man, I really wanted to succeed at this thing, you know? And I thought, to me, I started to read a lot about music and the industry and so on. And then, strangely enough, one of the guys who used to come to my house, who was very famous, was Rick Wade. And Rick, everybody knew Rick as his bodybuilder who won Mr. Universe, Mr. America, Mr. World kind of thing. Right. I saw Rick as a musician because I knew Rick was recorded in England. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't know Rick Wade was a musician.
Rick used to come to my house, man. I used to talk to Rick a lot and ask him a lot of questions. And then I got to reading a lot about the music thing and read a lot about Ricky Nelson, all these old guys. And I saw it occur to me, listen, if you want to get anywhere in this thing, you better start to write your own songs. Because to me, The time it took me to learn a song like, or 5 songs to go to perform, I might as well sit and write a song in a time, you know?
Yeah.
So when I left school, I wanted to just go to my music full time. And my mother said to me, listen, boom, if you want to succeed at this, you need to be very disciplined. And my advice to you is go get an 8 to 4 job so you can develop some work ethics, because nobody in St. Lucia had just decided to do music full time in St. Lucia before. I had no template, I had no yardstick, I had nobody to talk to tell me how to do this in St. Lucia because it hadn't been done. But one thing I was aware of is that the tourism industry was still in the embryonic stage, and I knew it had to grow. So I knew there'd be employment because all hotels need entertainment.
Okay.
They must have music. So my mother insisted I go find an 8 to 4 job. So I went to work with government for a while, and I work at the income tax department. And I have to confess, I wrote a lot of songs during that while I was working, you know. And then I was transferred to Treasury, and I continued to write songs, and I started to record. So I started to go to Barbados to record. And then at the time we were recording on like a stereo thing, there's 2 tracks, you know, everybody has to pay one time. So, you know, you have to do these songs really well and do this thing one go. And then I started to go to Jamaica. And you know the cost to do that at the time. I had to fly my whole band to Jamaica. We had to do a hotel plus the studio.
But
and when
let me just hop in. Was she right? Your mom having that vision to have you?
Absolutely, because she told me, listen, you have to understand what it is to go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, go to lunch at 12:30, you go back to work at 1:30, and you do an honest day's work for your money. And she kept, my mother was like a soldier, you know. Because don't forget, I really didn't grow up with my father. I know the influences of my father in the home because of the music he brought home. And that was left there. So I grew up with that. Plus, I learned a lot of the stuff that he influenced from my mom.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a brilliant idea that my mom advised I should go find an 8 to 4 job so I can develop some work ethics. And I roll that over into my music because my music, I'm very, very disciplined. I mean, up to this day, I get about 4 in the morning if I have to practice. I get about 4 and just practice whatever I have to do. I just do it. There's no if, but, or maybe, because I firmly believe that if you don't know what to do with a 5/7 with a sharp 9 flat 5, then you just don't know. You know, there's no marijuana you can smoke to make you know. You have to practice.
Right.
You know? So I don't fool around with that, you know. And then more than that, my management, my agent, my management now are American. And if these guys call me on a gig, I can't say, well, boy, I'm not on top of my chops now, you know. I've been practicing, you know, these guys just drop me because they can find many other people other than Boo.
Right.
So I'm very committed, and I think that discipline came from my mom.
Yeah.
So I did all these things now, and then I decided to go to Jamaica to record because I wanted that sound that I don't think I was getting from Barbados at the time. And then at the time I had some reggae songs like Burning Eyes on a Hungry Belly.
I know that.
And I wanted to get that Jamaican sound from that. And so I thought Jamaica is the place I have to go together. And I had the leaders don't know which way they're going, but like the sheep and only following.
So, would you say at the time that Jamaica was kind of the gold standard in the Caribbean for recording?
Yeah.
And producing? Okay.
So I went to Jamaica, and at the time, man, let me tell you, I was young, and it cost me $107,000 to do that project. That is the risk I took. That's how much I believe in what I was doing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? I flew my band to Jamaica. We had to do a hotel for all of this time, and we recorded 2 albums. Because I didn't think it was sensible to go to Jamaica and just do 1 album because, you know, the cost.
Yeah.
If you're there, you might as well. So I just wrote a lot of songs, and I did a few covers, and I just did 2 albums. And now my music got a lot more exposure. And at the time, what I do also, one of the things about St. Lucia is that there's a lot of external validation in St. Lucia. I don't know if a lot of people realize that. But St. Lucia have a notion, St. Lucians have a notion that if something is from outside is good,
Yeah, I can resonate with that.
or it's
Yeah.
better. So there was Radio Antilles that was based in Montserrat. And I had some friends in the station at Gus White. So when I did new material, something I would send it to them before I released it in St. Lucia. And Radio Antilles was very popular in the islands. So once people from here heard it on Radio Antilles, they said, gosh, man, go on some new stuff out, blah, 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 blah. At the time now, MNC had a record store in town where Home Depot is in town.
Yeah.
And one of the times when I brought in one of my new, what we used to call LPs at the time, when I go to the store, there was such a rush, I had to close the store. Because people were rushing for it because they heard the songs on Radio Antilles from outside first. You know? And that taught me a few lessons about us as a people, you know, that we still have this external validation. Because there's a lot of great music coming out of St. Lucia now. A lot of it produced by a lot of young people. I mean, there's so many great young musicians in St. Lucia, great young singers, great young writers, a lot of them. And they're not given enough exposure and opportunity in their own country. We must make stars of them in their own country. We have an obligation to do that for them, you know. And so that the time it took me to get to Miami, it should take them a quarter of that time or far less than that time, because all the parameters are there now to make it happen for them. So we must get over this thing, this external validation, everything from outside is better than what we have, because that's not always true.
What do you think as a nation we can do to kind of remove some of the roadblocks there?
Well, a few things we have to do. So for instance, Canada has a quota, 40% must be Canadian, and it also stipulates that the 40% must be played between 6 in the morning and 6 in the evening. This is how fellas like Drake got to where he is. This is how Diana Krall got where she was, you know. That's how Canada produces the big names. Because they have realized that if you don't do that, the music will become second class to everybody else's rather than theirs. Okay. And the reason why they tell you it must be played between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. is because after 6, most people are into their TV and news and, you know, whatever they're watching on TV. So there's that stipulation. And don't believe these laws don't exist in America. They do, but America does not have to police their stuff because they produce so much music and other big names in the world, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think that's one of the things we need to look at. And it should have been done even during this, it was even more necessary to do during this pandemic, because I had a friend of mine, a musician friend of mine, come to my house last week, and he was telling me he hadn't worked since March last year. And this because of the pandemic. So had we had that law in place, all the musicians who were writing or who have music released, if we had a quota, they would have generated a lot of money during the pandemic, and we wouldn't have needed any help from government. Yeah.
I think when we were discussing this earlier on today, I mentioned to you that I saw a bass guitarist who was on Facebook saying that he wanted to just sell his bass. He was ready to give up, you know, and it's very sad. A lot of musicians are struggling right now.
Yeah, it's struggling, man. You know, it's so. I mean, it should have occurred to the authorities that that was the most opportune time to introduce a quota, because a lot of the airtime, the money generated from airplay, would have stayed among us here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So musicians are not working, and that would have helped considerably, you know. But I don't suppose you can always get authorities to listen. Maybe we're just not important. We're important at certain times when it's convenient to them. Musicians must wake up and realize that, man. You know?
Yeah. Sometimes people don't really, they don't have enough incentive to help out until they feel it in themselves, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's the truth.
So to go back to my journey, so after I started to record, man, a lot of my marketing and the stuff I'd done in Barbados before I started with Jamaica was with West Indies Records Limited, WIRL, we call them World. And these guys had an ongoing marketing deal with Warner Brothers. And so my music got into America because it was now on Warner Brothers label. And because of that now, I had a friend called Mike Millius that I knew well. And he dated someone doing a soap opera, One Life to Live, and then she did Erica on My Children. And he got some of my music on the soap opera. Okay. So one day I got a call from Ezra Says, she used to live in Texas at the time. She said, "Boo, man, I had them fellas using your song on a soap opera night." I said, "Oh yeah, wow, I'll look into it." But I made all the arrangements, you know. But I didn't want to get into a long conversation.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, in 1979, which is before you were born, the Super Bowl decided they wanted a Caribbean halftime show. And because my music was already in America, I had a name because I was on Warner Brothers already. So they contacted the tourist board here. And I was part of this 1979 Super Bowl halftime show.
And that's a big deal because I don't need to tell the viewers and listeners how big the Super Bowl is, right?
So that was one of the pinnacles of that was one of the big things of my career, man, you know, to be part of. So there were some other groups from the Caribbean on, you know, and each of us got out of the slots, and this is huge, you know. Yeah. Up to this day, I have an LP, it's still in the shrink wrap, that my daughter just got me about 2 years ago, of that recording from the Super Bowl in that year.
So walk us through that day a little bit. You're at the Super Bowl. Who's there with you? Is it your original band? Has your band changed significantly at this point?
Most of the guys are no longer around. You know, I had Movin Francois played bass. Movin is Luther's brother. Movin was probably the best bass player in the Caribbean. I think I had either Junior Santomo or Rudy Otis playing drums. I had Clarence playing trumpet. Maybe Ricky on trombone. Who again? I can't remember who I had on keyboards at the time. But a lot of the original guys, you know. And we went and we played Super Bowl. And the night before, we played for the press party. So when we were told we had to do the press party, I thought, well, this is Super Bowl press party. We could probably about 600 people, 4,000 people at the press party. Because, you know, Super Bowl, everybody converges on that stage. So we saw the big stars. I saw Jim Brown. I saw Melba Moore. I saw all kinds of people, John Travolta, you know, because you're in the thick of things. You know?
Right.
And so that was one of the big things for me in my career. And so I continued to record, and more I began to make inroads into America. And then in more recent times, the Jazz Festival came about in St. Lucia. And that connected me to a lot of people. I have to be really thankful to the government for ever having started this Jazz Festival, because it really broadened my network. Wow. And that's the thing that the younger musicians must learn to do effectively. You really need to network in this business.
Yeah.
If you don't, it's difficult sometimes to open some doors, you know. You have to be clear about who you need. You have to know who can do what for you, but you must be able to, it is best if you can reciprocate in some way.
Yeah.
And so to this day, I'm still in touch with George Benson. We're still talk on the phone. If I have to play something and I don't understand, I just call him, you know. I just call him and say, George, you know, you played so and so and so and so.
And I think that's a benefit of the Jazz Festival. I think the name has changed now. a bit. I think the festival has changed now slightly, but
But not
the
just the name has changed. A lot of things have changed, man.
right,
But I really did benefit a lot from it.
yeah,
And even now, a lot of the collaborations, I would say a lot, but it connected me to a lot of musicians that and it changed my stature because I got called by BT one time to do our special for them, and they flew me and the band to Jamaica, and we filmed, I think, called Jazz in the Sun, and that was on BT like 5 times a day, you know.
oh, wow.
Now I'm talking an American audience,
Yeah.
so you know it's my career. And then I did one of my albums. I did a song called "King of My Jungle." I shot that video in New York also. That was also on BET 5 times a day. So I was on BET with my band of Jazz in the Sun, and I was there with my other track, a very different kind of neo soul kind of vibe of King of My Jungle. And that was on BET all day, man. And the strange thing is that sometimes I'd get a call at 2 a.m. and somebody would call me, "Boo, man, you're on BET, you know." I said, "So what am I supposed to do, you know?"
Right.
I don't have all the time, man, because I think some should just excited to see a local person on BET kind of thing, you know what I'm saying?
Right. But I want to point out that I'm hearing, I think my volume might be a little loud on my mic here. I want to point out that I'm hearing that a number of milestones kind of helped with your penetration of the US market, which sounds like it was integral to your success. So the first one being the soap opera, right?
Well, soap opera, yeah, the soap opera.
Right.
But the Super Bowl was big too, you know.
I would agree that the Super Bowl is probably the biggest.
But in more recent times, it was BET and the Jazz Festival, because that was constant. You know, I was there. I was in BET almost every day for that, and that went on for a while. And even after that particular series, Jazz in the Sun, that I filmed in Jamaica for BET, and my track King of My Jungle, BET would come in to do the Jazz Festival, and they shoot clips, and I would be in these clips. So some musicians would watch the Jazz Festival on TV, and they would see Earl Klug, and they see George Benson, and they see Bo Hinkson. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that goes back to the external validation that I'm talking about. Yeah, you know, because if they see me on local TV, it wouldn't be such a big thing. But see me on TV with American artists was a big deal, you know. And then also, there's one year George came for the festival, and I was leaving to go do a gig I had to do after my performance. I opened for him, I had to leave. And the security guard ran and got me at the gate and said, "Boo, they wanted to come back for a minute, you know." So I went back and what was going on, and I discovered that George Benson wanted me to come and play a song with him. And I can't tell you how nervous I got. You know? So I went to stand by the engineer to listen to the concert. And in the middle of the concert, George says, "Is Boo in the audience? Come on stage." And lo and behold, his fellas had the amplifier, everything set up for me. And I went on stage, man, but nervous like hell, you know. But it was all good. And when people in the world see that, you know, it gives you a certain stature.
Right.
Because not any and everybody gets to be invited on stage to play George Benson. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that kind of thing does help your career. And then subsequent to that, I played with Earl Klug, you know. And then I began to write for Tracy Hamlin. Tracy used to be the lead singer for a group called Pieces of a Dream. Okay. And I started to write for her. And she started to record stuff. The first song of mine she recorded was a song I'd written for Sandra Lord called Magic in Love. And then Tracy did that song, and it really did well, you know. And then my name began to spread as a writer also, not just a guitar player.
Right, so you now open up a whole new career, right?
A whole new career.
Yeah. And
then she did other stuff of mine. She did a song called what she did mine again? User Friendly. A lot of stuff I wrote for Tracy, you know, and she done well. You know? So that has helped my name in the musical circles in America. But then going to America to perform, you begin to meet more and more people. Your name, fellas begin to talk about you, and then begins to spread. And then in more recent times, I did the Lincoln Center in New York with Arturo Tapin, with Hugh Masakila.
Arturo Tapin is Saint Vincent?
No, Barbados.
Barbados, okay, right.
Yeah. And Arturo is on a lot of my recordings also. And he's a brilliant, brilliant musician.
Oh, yeah.
Arturo worked with Roberta Flack for like 16 years or so. He was a saxophone player. And then so this is where I met guys like Satrick, who was Richard Boner's musical director. I met Bakiti Kumalo. Bakiti and I played at Lincoln Center because Bakiti is the bass player who played on Call Me Olive, Paul Simon. You know that big chap.
Right.
And then I'm talking to Bakiti. I said, Bakiti, man, why is it nobody can play that lick you put in Call Me Al? And he said to me, there was a stop in the song. And he asked Paul to put something in there. And incidentally, it was his birthday. So he said, Paul, I want to play something here because it's my birthday. And he played it. And you know what they did? They reversed the tape for that lick. And that's why nobody can play the exact thing.
Because it's in reverse.
Yes, so you have certain little artifacts. So you can't play the exact thing because what you're hearing on the record is not what Bakiti played.
Interesting.
And you know what? I got that story previously from Paul because I had met Paul Simon through Derek Walcott.
Okay.
So, you know, a lot of things have happened in my.
Were you well acquainted with Derek Walcott?
Very. We were very close.
Okay.
Derek used to come to my studio a lot to record stuff, you know, and he would give me stuff he wrote to put music to. And on many occasions, Derek, when he came to the studio to hear what I did, he would start to cry. And the two of us in the studio alone, Derek is there crying. I said, Derek, why are you guys so emotional over this thing? He says it's because for the first time, he's getting exactly what he wants because we both talk in the same language. So if Derek spoke about Godadal, you get the image of a buxom, fat black woman in the little shop in the countryside.
Yeah.
In the area he spoke of in the recording, I know exactly where that is. So I understand the language, I understand the scene, I understand the atmosphere because that's what I grew up in also.
Right. And you can translate that musically.
Into music, yeah. So he said to me, he's worked it from Andre Tanker, he worked with Galt McDermott, and Galt is a guy who has a Grammy and everything, but the indigenous thing that I understand, they don't quite understand because it's us, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is us. You know, so Derek and I would go to the countryside and he would just stop somewhere and look at a scene in the countryside. And he'd start to talk. And Derek got very St. Lucian when he's relaxed. Yeah? He's very, very St. Lucian. And I can connect right away. So if he has music he wants done, I know where he saw that thing. I know what he felt at the time because I was there.
Right.
So it's and it taught me a lot too. It taught me how to compose for that kind of thing, which is very different to composing for the market.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's a very different approach. You know, and it taught me a lot about emotion, bringing emotion to music. And then I also did a lot of music. There was an organization here called the Arts Guild. It was a theatrical group, and they did a lot of theatrical productions. That's, God bless his soul, Arthur Jacobs just died, Barbara Jacobs' father, and he was an integral part of that, one of the biggest actors in St. Lucia. And I did a lot of music for some of Derek's brother's production, Roddy Walcott. And incidentally, in these productions, I played banjo. And that's why I learned a lot of St. Lucian music and a lot of St. Lucian rhythms from the old guys.
The old folk music, yeah.
Old folk music, I know it very, very, very well. Because I played it, I learned it from these guys. So
is that being passed down, the folk music? Because I don't know many people that know how to.
It is, but a lot of the young musicians now who do it, I'm not talking about the guys like Eastern Folk Band or to guys like Secret Band. I'm talking about the younger musicians who doing it. You're not paying attention to detail. All the nuances that make it sound, that gives it that indigenous solution feel. You're not paying attention to that. You know.
It sounds like that might get lost with time then.
Well, I'm hoping it wouldn't. You know, I actually one time stopped everything I was doing. I did an entire album of just Solution folk music because in an effort to preserve it, you know. And one of the things I distinctly remember on working on that project, I wanted to. There's a song called I Doodoo. And on that recording, I used Adrian Oje's daughter because she doesn't sing regularly, but she's a beautiful singer, a really good singer. And she has a lot of range. You know, these young people who are very talented, but they just take it for granted. And academically, she's very bright also. So she's very well rounded. So I said, Maria, if I wanted to do this song. And she had never heard the song before, she didn't know it, but Maria grew up in a home where she heard a lot of music because Bam Charles, who's her grandfather, was a piano player. And we used to have a lot of sessions at his house. So Luther and Nurse and myself, a lot of us used to congregate, just play music. So she grew up as a little baby, hearing that often. Anyway, I taught her that song. I told her, I want you to just make it your own. And she did a version of it with some guidance, and it was brilliant. And I wanted a particular feel. So I brought down this friend of mine from the States, who's a saxophone and flute player, professor of music. And when he came down, I said, Roger, I want you to put a solo on this song, but I want it kind of bluesy. This is Solution folk music, but I want it kind of bluesy.
That's an interesting combination there.
Yeah. And you see, I wanted to make the folk music a little contemporary, but not lose the indigenous thing. Because I wanted young people to connect to it, you know?
Yeah.
But I didn't want to lose the indigenous thing about it. And when he started listening to the song before he played it, I can see the chairs roll down his eyes. Say, wow, I'm teaching man, Roger. Said, man, boom, that music is so good. But he doesn't understand how this can be Solution folk music and be so sophisticated. Where did it come from? And you know, you're shocked that Solution had such brilliant and sophisticated, melodically sound folk music. And today, that's one of the best songs on the album. That's really for the very, very good. But I know the music here is in good hands, man. A lot of good young musicians. Fellas like Dwight, who's a good guitar player. There's
Dwight.
Zach is a great player. Daniel is a great player. He's a great producer.
Right.
There's Deli. There's a lot of good singers like this Yasmin Butcher.
I know Yasmin. I went to school with Yasmin, actually.
Oh, you went to school? That's a good singer, man.
She was in my class, yeah.
Oh, man, Yasmin can sing. And then there's Shannon Pennell in Beaufort. Shannon is awesome. There's Krista, who's Zach's girlfriend. Krista, she did the 12th time on with me.
Okay.
And there's who again? Demas. Just a whole lot of good singers in St. Lucia, man. A lot of good singers. I think what has happened is that I think a lot of young people are recording, just putting their music out on YouTube and social media and so on, and hoping something would happen. The chances of that happening are not.
It's kind of slim.
Slim.
Yeah.
You know, Rihanna didn't just happen. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you what too. Even just putting your music on YouTube or iTunes or Deezer or Spotify, let me tell you what. For every stream, you get about 0.00397 of a cent.
So it's going to take you a couple of streams before you get a cent.
You have to get several million streams before you make money.
Yeah.
So you have to be a mega star to make any lot of money from
You have to
streaming.
be a Drake or a Rihanna or someone.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, right now, Congress is looking at some laws that will change how the streaming platforms operate and what is paid to the authors of the music. Because what has been realized that most of the money is going to the people who own the platform. And the people who, the creators of the music are not getting enough money out of it. You know? So hopefully, and in the Grammys, we have people who are there lobbying Congress to do that. So hopefully that will change sometime. And musicians will be getting more money for the streaming of their music. You know?
Yeah, and it's so good that you started speaking a little bit to the path forward for young artists, because I really wanted to ask you let's imagine there's a young artist right now watching the show, and this person has the talent, they have the gift, but they want to know how this works. They want to learn and find out how does the business end work? How should I promote my music? How can I get my name out there? You know, I wanted to get some of your input on that.
First of all, you must, by all means, have a social media presence. That is crucial in the business today. You know what I'm saying? You need to find somebody who handles successfully artists doing the genre that you're doing. Because by yourself, it's not going to be easy. Trust me, it's not going to be easy. You don't, marketing yourself as a musician is not an easy task. So you need to find somebody who is handling a successful artist doing your genre that you're doing.
Right.
That's not hard to do. You can just go look up some agents and so on, and talk to them. Find an agent who's handling if you're doing reggae, find an agent who's handling Romain vocal. Find an agent who's handling any one of Jamaican artists and talk to them. But make sure the music you present is very well done. At that level, you don't fool around. You're very serious and don't get to things that you're not doing. You're not delivering. That doesn't work because they're not going to worry you, because there are millions of people like you and better than us. You know.
Right.
That is one of the things. And then you have to. A lot of the artists here, I'd say to them, listen, you have to learn how to be managed, man. You have to learn how to be managed, because you don't get a manager and do what you want to. You don't have an agent do what you want. You know? You have to learn how to be managed. Certain things have to happen in a certain way at this level. And you don't do it, and you get left by the wayside. But people at that level don't have time to waste.
Right.
Except if they see something exceptional and say, listen, that's money in the bank. They might be a little tolerant. But if you come in just as good as anybody else, forget it. You don't come and fool around. Yeah. And then you have to set aside money for positioning yourself and your marketing. So don't expect to put out a track and you generate some money. Just go to nonsense with the money, because you have to market the song. You have to market yourself. You have to position yourself. You have to deal with people you want to network with. It might mean taking them to lunch. It might mean taking them to dinner. A simple thing as that. You know.
Right.
That is how you build your network. So handle the money very, very, very well, man. And if you're lucky and you make money, invest in something else that can give you passive income. Because at some point there's going to be a lull, and you want to be able to fall back on something to pick up the slack. Understand?
Yeah.
And that is where you should go into something and generate some passive income for you. Because sometimes you're trying to get your way back in, and you need to reposition yourself and market. So for my people to get me onto, let's say for my people to get me onto smoothjazz.com or one of these indie charts, sometimes it can cost about $1,500 US a month.
Wow.
And the local artist doesn't have that kind of money.
Right.
So you have to do music that can generate money. So when your people spend that money on you, they can get back the money. They're going to any money that they spend on you, rest assured you have to pay it back.
Right.
There's no free ride. You understand? There's no free ride in this business.
Right.
So you have to don't do things that are mediocre because it's not going to make money. Because you see, a lot of people figure because of social media, it just made life a lot easier for them. But you have to understand that Drake is on social media too. And Rihanna is there too.
Right.
You understand? And Wizkid is there. And everybody else who just bears these names are fallen is on social media. That's what you're competing with now. So don't believe it has gotten easy. Because now you're on social media. You have to spend money to direct people to yourself.
Yeah.
So it hasn't gotten any easier.
You still have to put in the work.
You still have to put in the work. You know what I'm saying? You still have to put in the work. So, and then when you find an agent or manager who can handle your business, you have to know you have to give up some money for that. And do not, some artists have a notion that that man making a lot of money on my head. You know, kind of fool. That's just dumb foolishness, you know. People have to make the money, you know.
Yeah. Everybody has to eat.
Well, I did jazz festival here, right? Often my money went to America. My money, you know what I'm saying? My money went to my agent. You know, my agent is the one who cut the deal. When I went to Taiwan, my last tour of Taiwan, my agent is the one who cut the deal. My money went to America, and then my agent gets the pay, and then I get my money, I pay my musicians.
Right.
So you have to do this thing like a businessman. You know? But to get your music out there is to find somebody who handles the genre you're handling and is handling a successful artist and try to work with that person. But present the person with good stuff. And do not send the person 10 songs. Don't do that. Just send 2 or 3 songs.
Your best songs.
Because they're not going to listen because they're busy.
Yeah. Just
send 2 or 3 of your best songs and have them listen to that. And even when you send 2 or 3, they probably will not listen to the whole song. You know what I'm saying?
You only get 30 seconds probably.
I'm telling you, man, that's how the thing. So you have to know all of these little things. And even now during the pandemic, is to keep writing and keep putting stuff out there. Because like let me tell you what happened to me. My agent called me about maybe 2021, maybe late 2019 or early 2020, and said to me, "Boo, I think I'm going to release African Queen." I said, "No, this is during the pandemic and I'm not performing anywhere. I'm not touring. We have no tours because everything is on lockdown." He said, "No, I just came from Senegal and I was playing the music there and that track is doing good." So I said to him, well, and he's based in America, he's based in DC. I said, "But America is not Senegal, you know. So don't spend money on that now." No. I know any money this guy spend, they have to be paid.
Yeah. So
he kept arguing with me. I said, "No, I'm not performing anywhere now. All the hotels are closed." We had to do, I had to go back to Taiwan. I was canceled. I had 2 shows in England canceled. We had one in Toronto because we had done a show here. One of my concerts, yearly concert I did at Diaries. And the guy booked the concert for Toronto. I lost that. We did Jazz on the Green in Trinidad. We got booked again. We lost that too. You know, and that's how my musicians survive when I go on tour, you know.
Yeah.
And
I don't think people understand that most of a musician's revenue actually comes from touring. People think it might be album sales, but it's really touring is where people really eat. You know?
Yeah. So one day he calls me and says, "Boo, you know you're on the charts." This is my agent. I said, "I'm on the charts." So, "What song?" For me, African Queen. I said, "But I thought we agreed we're not going to release that." I said, he told me, "Yeah, that's what I said, but I released it." And so he sent me the thing. I'm looking at Radio Guitar 1 charts and I'm at number 10. And I'm saying, my gosh, you see what I told you earlier on about you have to learn how to be managed?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to learn to trust your management and your agent.
Right.
Sometimes you have to trust. Then I went up to number 6, then number 4. I went up, and I spent 6 weeks at number 1.
Wow.
With a song that was 4 years old. That I told him, don't release that. It's too old.
Yeah.
It is during the pandemic. I'm not performing, so we're not generating money, and I'm not touring, so don't do it. But sometimes these guys have an inkling.
Yeah.
These guys know things sometimes, you know. And then after that, I released another track called Moreover. And that sounded very well because I've just come out of the heels of African Queen. So people looking for new stuff from Boom. And then I released Moreover with Arturo's on the track. And
now, I just want to interject right here and say that we want to thank you. I know just a moment. Computer is about to die here. And that'd be good for anyone. Right? Are you still with me?
yeah, I'm there.
Okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to thank you on behalf of Iyanola Pictures because we have gotten your permission to use some of your music in some of our past productions. And
Yeah.
it really forms a signature for a lot of our scenes.
Obviously you can use, man, you know.
Yeah.
Man, I am always happy to help with my music and my talent, my people, man, you know, because we all have to do this together, man. We have to succeed together. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you what I know.
Right.
It's that we don't have many people on our side. So we better get behind each other. You with me on that?
That's I'm going to just get that clip, and I'll definitely be sharing that everywhere because it's true. It's very true, and it's very, very profound. I don't think many people grasp that.
Well, because they're sleeping, man. The war against us is not over, you know. Man. The war against us has never ended. It never ended. You understand?
Yeah.
So any opportunity we get to help each other, we must take that opportunity because we must always think of the collective. Man. And if I may be a little more precise, we must always think of the Black collective.
Yeah.
Because everything is stacked against us. So when you call me and say, Boom, man, we're doing a production, we need some music, man, I'll jump at that opportunity to help because I want to see my people succeed.
Yeah.
And if it means that that's what I have to contribute to succeed, to see my group, then I have an obligation to do it. For me, it's like an internal imperative because I understand what we're up against. I understand that we have to do everything 10 times better for the door to open for us.
Yeah.
So if my music is going to enhance what you're doing, then I would have contributed to your success. You know? And so I'm happy, you know. So to tell you, right now, I just finished a new track with Eric Darius. Eric Darius is one of the hot new saxophone players in America. Hot. Eric is always on tour with Dave Coors. He's doing stuff with Gerald Albright, these guys. That's the level he's at. And we just did a song together called Blue Light. It's going to be released in the States on the 1st of October.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll be keeping an eye out for that one.
Keep an eye out for that, man, you know. But I'll get a copy to you as soon as it's released, man. That's going to be a hot track. And so my last track, Moreover, I got onto, my people got me onto Sirius XM. Now, every new car in America comes out of Sirius XM.
Right. Satellite radio.
Yeah, they have a platform of about 35 million people. Now, not all 35 million people are listening at the same time because they're different programs. But if you're on Sirius XM, that means you've hit mainstream America. So I'm there pretty often. I'm also on Music Choice. Music Choice is a channel in America that shows you. You don't play music, there's the name of the artist, name of the song on the record label. And sometimes they do a trivia on the artist. So occasionally there'll be a trivia on me. And that's in 65 million homes.
Wow.
Now, what we should be doing now is for me to find ways and means to get other St. Lucian artists doing the similar thing that my people handle, so they can piggyback on what I'm doing, so I can get them there. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to I have a friend of mine who plays guitar. He's a good guitar player, and I'm hoping that I can influence my people to bring him on board, man. You know?
Very quickly, I don't know who the friend is, but have you ever heard of Javi?
That's how I'm talking about, man.
I heard Javi not too long ago, and I was really blown away. Shout out to you, Javi, if you're watching this.
He's playing, man.
Javi's very good.
Very good player, man.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that I've been talking to my people about him, and I'm hoping that I can get some of his music placed where mine is. You know, it's interesting that I was lying in my bed one afternoon, lying on my bed there, and I'm on my tablet, and I put on CD 101.9. That's one of the big stations out there.
Mm-hmm.
And they played Babyface, then they played Isley Brothers, and then Hinkson. When you hear that, you know you have arrived.
What is that feeling like? What is that feeling when you hear yourself playing on a mainstream outlet like that? Something that you wrote, so your own creative creation.
Well, for me, strangely, when that happens, I just start to think country, It's not often that it happens. I think about myself. I just think, Gideon St. Helen, you know her name?
Yes. Yeah.
Gideon sent me a clip because he was in his car driving home, and he heard Moreover on Watercolors on Sirius XM. And you're so excited. And then another friend sent a WhatsApp message to me from Tennessee, because she'd been heading in Tennessee every day. And Sanders' grandson to come here one day because some guests wanted to meet me because they've been hearing my music in Tennessee, and they discovered from a radio station in Tennessee that was from St. Lucia. So, but when that happens, I mean, if you listen to a station, you have Babyface, you have Isley Brothers, and then Hinkson. That is couldn't get more mainstream.
Yeah, that's very mainstream. Isley Brothers, come on.
Yeah. So when you've gotten there, initially you say, "Oh wow, I'm really happy about my music got there." Yeah. But for me, it's always about country, and I always think of how I can use my exposure of my music and develop some nexus between that and selling the country as a tourism destination, because I have to do it for my country. I have to do it because this is what drives our economy.
Okay.
So it is, the more of us that can get there, the better it is for the tourism industry, because we can sell the country.
Okay.
And if we sell the country and tourism does good, then there's more employment. You know what I'm saying? And then musicians that make more money. So it's not a boo thing. I never see it as a boo thing. As a matter of fact, anytime I go to perform, I always tell these guys, man, make sure when I come on stage, make sure you see St. Lucia, right? Just make sure you associate my name with St. Lucia. So because when I used to do the Lincoln Center almost every year with Arturo. Sometimes we'd have Hugh Masakila, or we'd have TCD the Local, who was in the Lion King, or somebody like that. And so we finish our rehearsal, and when you look at the band on stage, right? What goes through my mind is that my guitar is there, but that guitar can represent anything, anybody from anywhere. But when I come on stage there, and you say guitar, Ronald Wilson, but that doesn't mean anything about telling me St. Lucia. Make sure you say St. Lucia. You have to say Ronald Wilson from St. Lucia. You know what I'm saying? Because I understand what it means for my country. This is a little island, right. And to get there is not easy, man. You know what I'm saying? And you know what, too? I'll tell you what, you're always under a tremendous amount of pressure at that level.
I was about to ask about that. Yeah.
Because often, if you get there and you have the biggest names in the world, and then there's a thing they say, from St. Lucia and Ronald Wilson, people want to know, who is this guy with here? Except if, after a while your name gets known and people get used to you. But the initial stages, man, there's a lot of pressure
Yeah.
because everybody else there is from big countries, and you come from a little island in the Caribbean, and people come in there to focus on you, how you got there.
Yeah.
I mean, when we did Tai Chung, there were people there from Italy, from Holland, from
Tai Chung, where exactly is that?
in Taiwan.
Okay.
People there from so we did Tai Chung and then we went to do Taipei. And so the people from all over the world, man, big names. And we had done a concert before. I don't know what they heard, but they put us to close the last concert. We closed. And we played for 1 hour and they called us back on. So after we got back, we went to Anguilla. We went to Anguilla and then went to the festival in Beckwith. So I'm saying to the guys, we got in, so the morning of the show, the morning before the night of the show, we having breakfast in the hotel. I'm saying to the guys, boy, it's amazing. We just came out of Tai Chung doing 27,000 people. And tonight, we're going to do maybe, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people or so. Yeah. And the guys, dancing my drummer and my bass player said, "Boy, crazy." The official numbers from the Taiwanese government was 1,000 people in the park. I mean, just a sea of people.
Wait, can you say that number again? You were breaking up a little bit there.
That's the official numbers from the government. And I thought it was 27,000.
Wow.
And let me tell you what. So when you get these people, then man, you say, Lord, look at where I am, look at what I've come to, you know. And then you begin to think about your country, the little country that you come from, and what you can do for your country, you know.
Right.
It's it can be very gratifying, but if you're not mature, you always have to make a concerted effort to remain humble. Yeah. And keep your humility, because this is a gift. There are about, how many, 7 billion people in the world or something.
Right.
And you might assume that there are a lot of musicians in the world, but it's not a lot of us. God didn't give that talent to a lot of people, you know, man.
Right.
You know, he gave it to a few of us, man. And because we're so fortunate to have gotten that free, we have to be very humble with it and not allow these successes to go to our heads, and we must be very willing and eager to pass it on because we got it free, you know. And every opportunity we get, we must pull somebody along with us. You know? So when I get there and I see that kind of crowd of people that turn up to see me, I just have to say thank God, man. You know, the only problem I have is that I go into a certain zone, a certain frame of mind before I go on stage, where I like to be in my own zone by myself. I don't like.
You kind of have to lock in, right?
Yeah. So I think the fellas in my band understand that, so they try to kind of avoid talking to me before, because you know everybody has a different way of preparing to go on stage. You know? Because another thing I want to say to the young people, man, to make sure every time you go on stage, you try and do this thing good every time. Because you go and get 1 or 2 bad reviews, and you can ruin your career.
Yeah.
Because the media will, at that level, the media is always there covering, you know, you're going to get a bad review, but the media can give you a lot of trouble. So just make sure you're well prepared, man, you know, well prepared. And make sure you get as much as possible what you want from your rider, in your rider is there for you. And then you don't want to be dealing, that's the other reason why it's always best to have somebody representing you, because you don't want to be dealing with issues. If I ask for Roland Jazz Course amp and you give me something else, I don't want to be the one dealing with that before I go on stage, but that's stress, you know. Right. So you have to have somebody ahead of you dealing with everything for your rider. Make sure everything for your rider is there so that you don't have a problem when you get on stage. You don't want to be dealing with non-musical things on stage, you know? Right. Or just before you go on stage, because these things are only going to distract you, you know, and you're not focused, you know.
Absolutely.
So you need to get, what I'll tell young people, try and get a good agent, a good manager, and a good lawyer. Because especially with the lawyer thing, you don't have a good lawyer, you just might find you're generating money, you're not getting it.
You're generating money for someone else.
With someone else, right? You have to make sure you have a good lawyer,
Right.
and don't go signing things without consulting with a lawyer. Don't sign, you know. Right now, I'm going through a legal thing in America there because one of these hip hop fellas went and sampled one of my songs, and I'll give you that information off air so you can go listen to it. It's on YouTube. He's probably close to 1 million views now.
Wow.
And he didn't play over some of my music. He just took a piece of my song, put it in his song. So I'm my agent and lawyers dealing with that in America. I cannot deal with that, you know, that is not my forte.
All right.
So, you know, and the other thing I want to tell young musicians, man, everything you put out there, make sure you can prove it's yours. Make sure you have your copywriting well taken care of. Don't fool around with that, because something can go wrong in 20 years' time. You know what I'm saying? Don't take chances.
Something can go really wrong.
Very wrong. And had I not had proof that was my song, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
And the lawyer tells me, Bruno, don't worry, that's a slam dunk. They can't get away from that because he infringed on my mastering rights. He took something that was originally recorded. He didn't replay it. He didn't replay the parts. He just took a piece of my recorded stuff and put it in the song. You know, so the young musician must know that you have to be sure to have all your copywriting well done, and also be very careful about who you have in the room when you're writing. And a lot of them don't understand that. Do not have people in your room when you're writing. Do not,
because they can steal your ideas.
Not only steal your ideas. If you and I in a room writing a song, and you have a friend there, right? And I said, if the person who was there says, man, you all should put out their best, just say, together we aspire. And then we just casually say, oh, that's a good idea. Okay, together we aspire. And we go our way. So you go and you register the song and your name and my name. And one day the guy has a song and the song becomes a hit and makes money. The guy says, listen, I could have 9.
Right.
That's mine. So where's my split? Where's my split for the song? But I put that line in. I told you that I will put it. So what are you going to do?
Now you're in trouble.
Now you're in trouble. So the guys in America, what we were writing rooms, my friend of mine, who has, I have this friend of mine, he has about 7 Grammys. So he took me to a tour of his place and thing. And he has a writer's room. And if you're not writing, if you're not part of the writing, you can't go in that room when the fellows are writing. You must not be in there. Because anything anybody says in that room, they put it in the song,
right,
that person's supposed to be part of the script.
Yeah, that's now intellectual property.
Could be 2 words.
Yeah.
You understand? So I'm very meticulous about who is wrong if I'm working on a piece of material, and that kind of thing, it wouldn't happen to me because I will make sure it doesn't happen. You know. So when fellas come and you junior work and start to tell you, why you don't do that, man? Put that there. Now, boo. So thanks, but you know,
Thanks, but no thanks.
I'll probably stop working on the project. You know,
yeah.
But that hardly ever happened to me because if we're working on stuff, it'll be mainly people who were working on the project who were there. Yeah. And if anybody else is there, I'll tell them, listen, do not make any contributions, don't distract us. I will not tell them, do not. I'll find a polite way to say it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let you know that right now we don't need to hear your input. We don't need your input. Because that can be problems down the road.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Have you ever thought of having like educational workshops or something of that sort, or even creating a masterclass? Where you have a course that you create for.
Well, but I haven't thought about it, but you know, I just figure everybody has easy access to me, man. Everybody wants to know. You just call me, man. So just call me, man. You know, I'm easy to find, man. You know, and I'm very eager to just give information when I know, man. You know.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to tell musicians, man, when you're going to work on stuff, if you have a band, you don't necessarily have to record with your band. If you have a particular track to do, find the musicians who can put it on the best.
Right.
Understand?
Right.
So that you have a masterpiece recorded, and let your band go learn it.
Right.
You with me on that?
Yeah.
But don't bring your band to record because that's your band. No. Bring who you want to sell yourself, you know, and you want to sell music. So the musicians you have access to who can give you the best product, bring them in and pay them.
Right. Yeah. That makes complete sense.
If you have the singers, you want to use the singers, I understand that. But as far as the musicianship is concerned, bring the best musicians who can do it. So you have a really good
master,
track,
yeah.
And then let your people go and learn it and play it like that.
Yeah.
I don't record when I'm recording, depending on what I compose, I just bring in other people. I would have a track and I bring Nurse to play just one part of the song. And then bring somebody else to play the other part. I just want Nurse to play that part of the piano and bring somebody else to play the rest. Because that part of the song, he's the one who has the style that I want to have there. And then you have to determine, well, this bass player has this style I'm looking for. Because my new project I'm working on there, I have horns from Barbados. I have Nicholas Branca on one track, a two on another track. I have a saxophone player from Trinidad on another track. I have one from a saxophone player from America on another track. You know, it all depends on what you're looking for.
Right.
Each song has its own chemistry. And you have to look at the pool of musicians you know, and who has the best chemistry to do this for that song, who has to do it for that song. I know if I'm doing a Latin track, I'm going to call Nurse, I'm going to call Jesse from the police now. Because these guys have that Latin thing down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to call somebody I work with that does smooth jazz or R&B or has a gospel vibe to do a Latin track for me.
Right.
Because you do it,
but it won't be
the best.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Just going to find who's going to do the best and pay them on my track. And then after that, when you go after one play, like, then whoever I'm using have to go and learn it.
Yeah.
Or I will just bring that person on the gig to do it because it has to be right all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of other things that I would do to just make sure, to be sure that the product, man, the product is right. And the other thing I would like to talk to young musicians about is when they start to tour, what is expected of you, you know? How you handle yourself on tour, how you deal with the media, because you don't want to end up looking like some foolish guy talking nonsense all the time in the media. People ask you a question, you know, and saying a lot of nonsense, man. You know, that doesn't work all the time, man. You know? You like to know that even if too many times I find musicians are given an image as though all we know is music, man.
Oh yeah, all the time.
You know, that's not good enough, man. We're not stupid people, man. Artists have said some of the most profound things throughout history. So we can't be foolish people, you know. To this day, people are still quoting what artists said since the 17th century. You know what I'm saying? This is a profound artist can become. But and so I want to see a lot of the young artists, man, arm themselves with the ability to deal with the media so that you have a sense of vocation and know how to sell yourself, you know, as somebody who's not just singing or just playing a guitar, you know, just playing a drum. We are far more than that.
Yeah, over the course of this conversation, I've heard, how important it is for folks to see potential in people and give them opportunity, especially in terms of
especially young people.
Yeah, especially young people.
Yeah.
I've heard about the importance of resourcefulness, where when your band was just starting out, you know, he built that bass guitar and the other person built that drum.
Yeah.
Right. And the importance of humility, where, you know, even at such a young age, you were basically on tour throughout the Caribbean, but still kept a level head, and performed at a level that kept propelling your career forward. You gave us a roadmap for young artists in terms of finding an agent and being open to being managed, and
Not just being open to be managed. You have to learn how to be managed.
Right.
You have to learn how to be managed. This guy want to get a manager, and then just cut the thing on the side. The manager doesn't know. You can't do that. You can't do that, man.
And all these things come together, I think, to give this episode a lot of value, not only for musicians around the Caribbean, but also for everyone to observe the importance of discipline, the importance of hard work, the importance of consistency and work ethic, and all of these things. And I really want to thank you for helping us learn all these things today, or reminding us of all these things today, just for your story, just for telling us your story. And I'm sure your story today has been an inspiration to the majority of viewers and listeners.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for talking to me. I appreciate it, man. You know, and let's keep supporting the young musicians, man. You know, we have to do everything we can to open doors for them and make sure they succeed too, so that they don't have to take us long to where I am. You know, we got to be committed to seeing to it that we make stars of our young people in their country.
Right.
You know, I think one of the things that we have to do is government has to remove all this import duty on musical equipment. Just move it out. Remove all the import duty on recording equipment. Because I think the deterrent that import duty is on the development of the music industry is not worth the money government makes.
That's a very good point.
You understand? It is too big a deterrent of the development of a multi-billion-dollar industry for you to make a few how many $1,000 a month on import duty you could make on musical equipment and solution. Just remove it. Let people bring in instruments. Guess what? If a guy goes to the music school, 2 young guys go to the music school, right? That is where a lot of free-gun guys in this, that's why you get guys each other in this form of group, you know? That's how it happens at Berkeley all the time. That's how a lot of great groups come out of America. These guys who are at Berkeley together, you know, and they hear each other and they say, oh, let's set up a group, man. But you know what? You go and buy a keyboard. If you buy let me see what's a Kronos now, but that's thousands of dollars. Plus the duty. When are young people going to get money to do that? And we're dealing with a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Right.
That is just waiting for us to come and grab our share of it. And you have all the import duties there. Nonsense. And even if the guy buys an instrument and he gets it duty-free, and after a year he says, no, I don't like that anymore. Another musician will buy it from him. Another young musician will buy it.
Yeah.
So it's not to say it goes to waste. So just remove all these duties and remove all on musical equipment and remove all the duty on recording equipment so studios can blossom all over the country. So we got a multi-billion-dollar industry going that is driven by our own human resource. Nobody can take it from us. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can take that from us because every successive generation will keep it going.
Yeah, and keep getting better and better.
And I will knock this new administration while I'll be on the case. I'm telling you, man, I will do whatever it takes to make sure this happens. We have to remove the import duty on musical equipment for these young people, but I believe it will happen. It will happen because the new prime minister keeps talking about the youth economy, and there's nobody more interested in music and television than the youth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're the ones driving it, you know. And more than that, a lot of the young people driving the music are not people who come from privileged backgrounds, you know. That's grassroots fellas, you know, grassroots young people who are driving this thing. And they need the help. So I am appealing to this new administration to quickly remove all these import duties on musical equipment. Don't come with no 50%, that's not good enough because you're giving hoteliers 25 years tax-free holiday. So just remove it. Just remove it on the musical equipment for young people and remove the import duty on all the recording equipment. You know, deal with it like a serious industry that we want to develop. The Jamaican artists bring about $1 billion US a month into Jamaica.
I wasn't aware of that. That's a lot of money.
I'm talking $1 billion US. These guys are making money coming through the air.
Yeah.
And guess what? Jamaica does not have to promote Jamaica as a tourism industry. They don't want to. They don't have to spend a penny because the music will do it all.
Yeah. Everybody's listens to the music, so they eventually just want to go where the music is from.
You want to see what? But look at what the Denry segment did with the Forest for Life.
Oh yeah, I heard about Denry segment.
Right, there was an era about 2 years ago when the Denry segment was big.
Yeah, I was at the time I was actually living in Boston, and a friend of mine messaged me saying, "Hey, Keddy, isn't this from St. Lucia? Isn't this music from where you're from?" And I listen, I say, what kind of yeah. So Denry segment was worldwide.
Well, man,
is worldwide probably still.
I watched a friend of mine sent me a clip of a New Year's Eve party in Switzerland.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this thing, I'm seeing this must have probably about 2,000 people there. And I am listening to the music in the back and I'm split in the middle, man. Split in the middle, Denry segment. That's how you can feel with the people.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if we can do that, man, you know, it's the import duty that musical equipment, the recording equipment generates here in St. Lucia. It is not worth keeping that duty on that thing when you look at the big deterrent it is to the development of the whole industry. So we must just remove it and find ways and means to incentivize the young musicians and young recording art and guys of the young guys in the recording studios. Let us get this thing going and get this industry off the ground. Yeah,
and it makes a lot of sense.
Finally, I think in this youth economy, with regard to the music, government has to set aside some money and put it there to promoting the music and the artists, positioning our music and the young artists, get them where they can be seen and heard. When Barbados got into Trinidad and started to blow up in Trinidad, with what we call the Bajan invasion, when the Barbados ring band all that started to break up Trinidad, the Barbados government was paying for these artists to be on shows so the music can be heard. And this is what we have to do here, man. We have to hook up our music here and hook up our artists here. Nowadays, because of this new summit, recent summit between the Caribbean and Africa, we need to find out how we can do some cultural exchanges with Africa.
I think it's happening. I think it's coming.
And get one of our artists to record a Wizkid or somebody like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because when these African guys doing a big concert, man, you're talking about 80,000 people in the stadium, 80,000, 100,000. When you see one of these American artists in the video, and he has a Bugatti or a Rolls Royce, on a big house. He rented that, The difference with the African, he owns it.
It is.
Yes. The African artist, he owns that.
Right.
Now just imagine we have our guys trying to collaborate with these guys.
Right.
You get into Africa, you need 80,000 people in the stadium. But rather than doing that, we have our fellows hustling to get into Miami Carnival, Trinidad Carnival, Notting Hill Carnival. No. You know what I'm saying? I have a very different vision. But anyway, man.
Yeah, I can only hope that this episode goes out and people really hear and resonate with those things, because I do. I think the ceiling will be moved, and I think a lot of progress will be made in terms of the arts, not only in St. Lucia but throughout the entire Caribbean in the coming years. And I'm excited to see it. I know some people right now things look a little bleak. We have COVID. Yeah, don't give up. Yeah, don't give up. Guys, you're watching this on the 20th, tomorrow. We will be back with you again on October 4th. As you know, Family Reflections is bi-weekly. Thank you so much for joining us today, Boo. And
thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it was really a pleasure. And folks, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Ciao.
Bye.